Hi, welcome to East to West WLS, the podcast where we support the bariatric community with humor, humility, and honesty. I'm April and I'm the West.
And I'm Jason and I'm the East.
Today, we're joined by two of our most favorite people in the world, Nat and Katie. Hi, friends.
What's up?
So if you are friends and followers and listeners do not know Natalie and Katie, let me introduce them briefly. Natalie is our social media guru. She's been a part of East to West now for, I think, almost a year. I mean, her bariatric story is amazing, and she is a glorious human. Katie is one of our ride and die friends. We met her, I think, almost a year ago. We had the best conversations with her. She's a prominent member of our community. And this summer, Nat and I had the opportunity to meet Katie in person, and that was like life-changing. And we had a lot of very deep and meaningful conversations around kind of food guilt and partying. And today's episode is really going to deep dive into both of those topics. I do want to give a little bit of a trigger warning. We are going to be talking about partying. So we're going to be talking about drinking, drugs, all of the things that you kind of think about when we think of partying. So if this is an episode that is going to trigger you in any way, please skip it. But if you would like to learn about what partying means to us now after weight loss surgery, and if you want to hear about how we have kind of grown into how we treat partying now, this episode is definitely going to be for you. So before we go any further, I would love to just give Katie and Natalie the floor a little bit to just introduce themselves at maybe a deeper level before we really deep dive into this conversation. So Nat, because you are part of East to West, I think we'll start with you.
Yeah, so I'm Natalie. I'm at Breaking Barriers on Instagram, and I've lost about 140 pounds on the entire process. I lost 50 pounds before, like during my pre-surgery diet, and then I've lost about 90 pounds since. It's been a crazy ride, as April, Jason, and Katie know. But I really focus on my page, at least, the raw and real. I talk about everything from, eating disorders to menstrual cycles. I talk about it all. So nothing is really off limits, but I'm really excited to talk more about this topic because it's something that's very important to talk about.
Agreed. It is, right? If you're listening to this in the month of October, our support theme is Let's Get Spooky, right? And the whole concept behind that is we want to dive into the things that kind of give us the spooks after bariatric surgery, and partying is like one of those top things. So this conversation is timely and important, and I think it's needed, right? There's a taboo that goes with partying after weight loss surgery, and we're excited to have an open conversation about that. All right, Miss Katie, will you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. I'm Katie, and my Instagram is katie.bsg. I started my Instagram. It's been a little over a year now that I've had it. I had weight loss surgery, at BSG surgery in December of 2020. So I am officially 9 months post-op now, which is wild. Like, can't even believe we're here. And it's actually really funny. I did not think that I would be recording a podcast on partying after weight loss surgery because, to be quite honest, like I kind of strayed away from the party scene, like for a while. I mean, obviously, like in college, yeah, that was great. But then the more weight that I started to gain after that, the last like 10 years of my life, like I didn't want to go out. I was such a homebody. Like I never wanted to even be social. And so it's so interesting to see how things have changed since surgery. Now that I'm enjoying, my new body, and I want to experience some fun things. And so I know we're going to get into this a little bit more later, but I'm really excited to be talking about it because I've definitely experimented and tried things. And, I try to share as much as I can on my Instagram, just to be open and honest and real with people, because a lot of times, like my bariatric team told me like, oh, like, you should probably abstain from alcohol the rest of your life. I'm like, okay, but like, I'm 29, like, let's be real. Like, I'm not going to not drink for the next 50 years of my life. Like, let's, come on. So it's just nice to have these conversations with people that are in the real world and, just to share our experiences and stuff like that. So I'm really excited to dive in.
We are too. And I think you bring up a really important point that all of us can think of partying in a different way, right? So like Jason, before we really dive into the conversation, I think it would be very poignant for you to share kind of what partying means to you, because this conversation is going to be a little different for you.
It is a little bit. I am just a person who's never drank. I've never smoked. I've never done any drugs, recreational, otherwise. I've just been one of those people that just never did. But I've never had any judgment towards anybody that does. It just wasn't something that I felt the need to participate in, so I just didn't. But I've always kind of been the caretaker in those positions. Like I make sure that kind of the overwatch to make sure that everybody's good and got where they needed to be. I've been the DD for tons of people, whether I went out with them or not. Like I've always been what my wife calls Project Safe Ride. So anytime anybody needs it, my phone would go off in the middle of the night and I would have to go rustle up 3 or 4 of our friends and take them home and play a little hide and seek because maybe they were too smashed to know where they were. So I'd have to kind of do a scavenger hunt, find them in the middle of the night. So that was always fun. But yeah, no, I mean, for me, partying's always kind of been like, I can go out and have a good time with all the people that are doing those things. It just never was something I felt like I needed to do. So it looks a little different for me, but I've still noticed changes doing that pre-op and doing it post-op. So it's gonna look a little different, but it'll still fall in line.
Well, and I think too, right, like partying, I think for a lot of us is something that we do when we need to escape, right? When we feel that need to let off steam, or we need to like, oh my God, I need to do something different. I need to relax. I need to just like not think or worry about this. And for a lot of people, that means turning to drugs or alcohol. But for other people, maybe that means gambling. Maybe that means food. Maybe that means sex, right? Maybe that means a lot of things. So I think when we say the word partying, this conversation is going to kind of center around, alcohol and that type of partying. But keep in mind, we all party in different ways, right? And I know, Jason, you and I have talked about how you used to party with food, right? Like that was a party. So I think it's going to be really important that we talk about partying from that lens, right? Like specifically, we're going to talk about this today, but really we want everybody to step back and go, okay, do I party in my life? How do I party? And how has it changed right after weight loss surgery?
Absolutely, because it definitely was just because I wasn't drinking with everybody else doesn't mean that I wasn't doing I was partying like you said in a different way. So
yeah. All right, so our topics today are going to be a little bit far-reaching, but we really want to dive into this topic. So we're going to talk about what partying means to us now. How do we party before weight loss surgery? How has that changed after weight loss surgery? Do we feel guilty about partying now, and kind of like why or why not? And do we still have the same drive or desire to party? And then if we are partying now after weight loss surgery, how are we doing so safely? So really, we're gonna take our listeners, and if you're watching us on our YouTube channel, we're gonna take you on a little partying adventure. We're gonna walk you through our lives and just have an open and honest conversation about partying. All right, shall we do it?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, very first question. What does partying mean to us today? I'm going to start with you, Nat, then we'll go to Jason, and then we'll end with Katie.
I think for me, it's really kind of what you touched on before, April. Like it's a way to let off steam. I feel like it's more of that now for me than an escape. I mean, it's still an escape. I still think that like, okay, my job was really hard this week, so I'm going to go like not think about anything. Obviously that is still there, but I feel like it's less prominent and more about like, I'm going to go and experience something different instead of like, I'm going to go and black out this weekend because I don't want to think about life. It's more of like I'm going to go and like have fun and like just be carefree for a little bit instead. So it's shifted a little bit. Obviously that underlying escapism is still there for me personally, but it's less prominent and more about just being carefree and letting loose.
Yeah, I definitely can relate to that. I think before weight loss surgery, I partied a lot, especially in college, but it was almost like obligatory, right? Like you're in college, everybody parties, you just have to do it all the time. Even when I didn't feel like I wanted to, it was almost like, well, I have to. And now it definitely is an escape to like, okay, I just need to not be worrying about whatever's happened before. Awesome. Jason, my friend, what about you?
Now it's just, I think it's more about the interactions with people, getting together with people that you may, especially now that you haven't seen in a while, because everybody's kind of staying away from everybody and being in, at the house. But it really kind of is more now focusing on those interactions and building those relationships back, and just kind of unplugging from everything and not having to worry about, just because we're we're plugged into everything, whether it's work, whether it's social media, whether it's all the things that we do after we get off of work. We're spending 90% of our day staring at screens, whether it's TVs, computers, phones, all that. It's just being able to get away from all that and having, taking the enrichment of, face-to-face contact with people, and really nurturing those relationships that we've kind of left behind over the last year or so.
Yep. When I think of partying now, it's not necessarily the feeling that I am trying to achieve. It's just, I get to actually be face to face with people. And I guess I feel like I have more real conversations with people when I'm in that environment. And sometimes, right, alcohol helps me be a little bit more truthful. I don't know why, but it just is, for good or for bad. Oh, Katie. Oh,
so I think for me, it's kind of a balance of three different things. It can be an escape for me at some points. It can be a way for me to have fun and let loose, but I feel like it's also kind of therapeutic in a way. And I know like that sounds so like kind of messed up to say, I feel like, and for me, when I say this, I'm speaking more about the use of marijuana, that in particular can be very therapeutic for me. And it's something that I've actually learned more recently. I feel like it can be an escape in some ways. And, I also have a lot of fun, but I have found that like you said, like I tend to have very meaningful, thought-provoking conversations when I smoke weed. And I feel like my mind like processes things so in depth, like when I'm high. And so I really enjoy it. And so it's, it's kind of finding that balance and kind of just like figuring out where I'm at in that moment, and like why am I choosing to smoke weed right now? Or why am I choosing, like, I kind of have to assess the situation to figure out like where I fall. But it can definitely be a mix of different things for me, for sure.
Well, and I think all three of us have brought up some really good points, because we now understand that we could be using partying in a way that is detrimental to our health, right? It takes away, or it pushes things to the side, right? It's a way for us to escape and not deal with something. We all kind of understand that now. And the fact that we are able to kind of step back and go, okay, wait a minute, I'm feeling the need to escape. Why do I want to escape? Is this actually going to bring me relief, or is this going to bring lasting change, or do I just need it in the moment so that I can get through this, right? These are all kind of themes that we have experienced. These are things that we've done when it comes to partying. And right, like we all understand that partying, there isn't much about partying that I think aligns to our bariatric goals. Right? Like they just don't. If our goal is metabolic wellness, these things tend to maybe not hit us in all of those areas. But we also understand that it's human nature to want to escape every now and then. Life is hard. We need an outlet. And if we don't have that coping mechanism put in place, it's almost going to be worse for us. Right. So we're constantly trying to find this balance, because if I'm partying, I'm maybe stepping away from my bariatric goals. And if I party unsafely, I could be risking my health and the health of others. Right. So like you said, it's this balancing game between like, okay, why am I doing this? Do I need to do this? Could I do something else? Is this going to be beneficial? It's crazy. It's almost like we have this in-depth psychological conversation with ourselves now before we do anything. And we never would have done that before surgery. At least I wouldn't have.
No, but you have the bandwidth to do it now, though, and that's the difference, because you're,
True.
like we had talked about, discussed in earlier episodes, the more capacity frees up in your mind when you're not so obsessed over food and what you're going to do and eat and who's going to be, all the other things that go into that. And it honestly, that's probably a better thing for you guys to do. It sounds weird because it makes partying a little more technical, but at the same time, you're actually assessing situations that may need deeper, deeper work.
It's true. It's a good
Well,
point.
and right. And really at this point, I feel like everything I do is technical now. Everything is calculated. I think about everything. And at first it was exhausting, but now it's just kind of like, well, this is what life is. This is how I am choosing to go through it, because this is how I found success after weight loss surgery.
Yeah, because we shoot and hollered shit before, and you saw what happened. Like, we should be like, hey, let's see how this works out. And it's like, oh, that's how that works out. Okay, my bad. So maybe I do need to take some actual, technical approach to this, and maybe plan this out a little better, and maybe the result will be better.
Oh my God, I've never heard that term before, but when you said, you mean like, whoa, like shoot and holler, like that, that car.
You just kind of shoot and be like, oh shit, like I hope that went off okay, like hope that hit something, like yeah.
Oh my God, I have never heard a more perfect analogy in my life.
It's the Oklahoma in me. It just creeps out every now and then. I don't know.
Amazing.
Oh my God. All right, friends. So I would love for us to share, how did we party before weight loss surgery? Nat, why don't you start us off?
Well, before weight loss surgery, before really working on myself and choosing myself above others and other things, I was very depressed. And so a lot of times partying for me was like a way to feel something other than, being depressed or other than being numb. It was a way for me to force myself to not just be sitting at home. It was like a last ditch effort to like maybe feel something, maybe get some serotonin, for a couple hours.
Mm-hmm.
But, the dark side to that is that I would go too far and I would drink a lot, or I would smoke weed for like weeks without stopping. So it was really a way to kind of like what Katie was saying, like it was a way for me to like self-medicate, but in like the wrong way. It wasn't necessarily something I wanted to do. It was something I thought, well, maybe this will work, maybe this will light the fire, a little bit. So for me, it really wasn't to make memories. It wasn't to engage with people. It was just to like not feel anything or just not feel sad.
Yeah, it was a tool to zone out or to numb out.
Yeah.
Wow. Katie, what about you?
Sorry, I was on mute. So, I didn't really party very much at all. I was very depressed. I was very uncomfortable in my body. Of course, like I mentioned before, I used to party a lot, like in college and when I was younger. And then, the weight, I've struggled with weight my whole life, but I feel like it became very prominent just over the last 10 years of my life. And, I kind of just went through this phase where like, I just didn't want to. I never wanted to go out. I didn't want to be seen. I was embarrassed of how much weight I had gained. And I was just very uncomfortable. The only times that I would really let loose and drink or smoke or whatever is really once or twice a year. My husband and I used to host an annual Christmas party, which was super fun. And I would let loose because those were all my close friends. I felt like we finally got everybody together and that was really fun for me. And then I live in Indiana, so like NASCAR is a big thing here. So the Indy 500, we used to go to that every year and go to the Snake Pit, which is this like giant EDM concert in the middle of the track. And I would totally let loose there. Those were like the 2 times a year that I really like enjoyed myself, had fun, because I had a reason to. But then every other like instance, like Eric would be like, "You want to go out tonight?" And I'd be like, "No, I'd rather just stay in bed because I'm comfortable and watch Netflix. You know, like that's all I ever really wanted to do. So I wasn't really a huge partier, honestly.
It's so interesting to hear all of our different stories because they really are different. But the theme that seems to be running consistent is either we weren't partying or we were partying because of our weight and what we thought about ourselves and how we showed up in the world. I think I definitely used partying as because I wasn't very happy about the way that I looked. I had gained a lot. I gained like 100 pounds in college. But what I did have going for me is that I still can consume a freakish amount of alcohol and not really feel the effects. So I was the party queen, right? I had the booze backpack. I had all of the new drinks. I had the disposable income to like buy all the things. So I was the partying girl. I loved to throw parties, right? I was the one that was always hosting, or I was the one that was always going. And I was the one that could drink a lot. So that was kind of my shtick, right? Even though I maybe didn't look like the rest of my friends, or I took up more space. I made sure that I used that space in a very loud way. So partying was a way for me to kind of like be social, or it was a way for me to kind of, you know, not have my weight and my size be front and center. It was like, well, I'm the partying person. I'm the one that's always bringing, you know, the new drinks. So that was kind of how I think I used it before, you know, and I never, and I still only a few times have, you know, drank by myself. I really don't have that desire anymore. But before weight loss surgery, I would party. I would be a party of one, and it would be what I chose to eat, or what I choose, you know, would be eating at the time. That was definitely a way for me to escape, and I would use food to do so. Jason, my friend, what about you?
Mine was always, since I was the sober one, everybody would off be doing the party thing and drinking and whatever else they're, you know, they're drinking games and all that. Well, that just left the food unattended. So I would always just sneak off and just be able to consume whatever the hell I wanted because A, they weren't going to eat it. So I didn't have competition to worry about it. And B, nobody was paying attention to what I was eating. So I could, like you, drink, you know, freakish amounts. I would consume food in freakish amounts, and they wouldn't know the difference because it was, you know, they would always just, oh, just take whatever because that means it's less I have to put up. That was all I needed to hear because my ass is in the corner just huddling, just die. And that's literally, I mean, nobody was paying attention to what I was doing. So I was able to just eat until I couldn't eat anymore. And then I'd kind of, you know, kind of just appear back in the party and just, hey, what's up, you know, everybody? And then they'd look away again. I'd be like, back over. And as soon as I created a little bit of space and I could eat more, and yeah, literally that was the routine. Like I would go and hang out with everybody for a little while, and then I'd make my way back to the food until it was all gone.
So how has that changed now, right? How has our partying changed after weight loss surgery? Jason?
For me, I've noticed now that I don't leave the party at all to go check on anything else. Like I'll sit in there in the room and I don't go where the food is unless I'm with people that are going to get food themselves. Or I will make my own little bariatric friendly plate and I will sit in the corner. I will eat. I will throw my plate away because I used to keep my plate like people kept their cups at a party. Like you don't ever leave your cup. I never left my plate. It was with me all the time. So I could always go back and just pile more shit on it. So now I just I eat my little corner of food. I throw my plate away and I don't go back in the kitchen until it's time to go.
Wow. Do you ever feel the desire to continue to eat? Like, do you ever feel kind of like that old pull to just keep quote unquote partying for you, or has that completely gone away?
The first few times that I was in the situation, I would be like, well, I can just get another plate, or I just go in there and do it. Like I would start bargaining with myself or trying to make deals and make it seem okay. And then I thought about it and I was like, no, because we've talked about it. Like we've had these thoughts. We know what we're doing. We know what's going to happen. You're going to make yourself sick, or you're going to keep going back and you're going to keep getting plates and you're going to do this until you're not going to eat as much as you used to, but you'll eat more than you should where you are right now. So I had to realign my thought process and say, well, we're going to go through one time. We're going to get what we want. We're going to throw the plate away. We'll be done. We don't need anything else. And if later, like now it'll be like course type situation. So if they put stuff out now, eat whatever it is, be done. If later they bring out dessert or whatever else may be, one shot to look around, see if there's something that you want to waste, the calories on, go ahead. But just know that it's got to be something that really, really stands out. You can have one of that thing, and then that plate goes in the trash. So it was really just kind of a realigning of my thought process of the whole thing. And it was a
Wow.
deal I had to make with myself that we were just going to do better.
Whoa. That's some powerful learning. I mean, do you feel, I mean, has this new way of thinking for you taken away your enjoyment from like when you're together with other people or that party environment, or has it improved it? Like, how are you feeling about this change?
To me, I think it's added to it because I don't worry about what's in the kitchen now. I don't worry about how much is left. I worry literally and focus on what's going on in the room where all the people are, because that's where I should have been in the first place. Because if I'm this overseer and I'm watching and making sure that everybody's good and protected, I can't be that if I'm in the kitchen worried about how many sandwiches are left or how many chips are out there, or how, whatever, the dips, whatever. Like, I can't be worried about that stuff. I have to be worried in here with the people and enjoying the conversation and the environment. It's not that I don't enjoy being around the people. I'm there for a reason. So that needs to be my reason, not what's going on in the kitchen.
Wow. Dang. That's big stuff. Katie, my friend, what about you? How has it changed?
Oh, yeah. So I actually want to party now, which is funny, but also makes sense because I'm so much more comfortable in my body. And not only that, I mean, it's not that I still have insecurities, of course. I have some loose skin and I'm not exactly where I want to be. And, those things are still there. But I also feel like I've grown so much, like, as far as from a mental health standpoint, I feel like I've just grown a lot, with my self-awareness and, all of it kind of plays a part. And so I just want to enjoy life now, like I don't want to have those worries about like, what are people thinking of me? Like, am I the fat friend? Like, am I the biggest one of the group? Like that stuff just like I just don't think about it anymore because I feel like I'm comfortable in my skin. I feel better. Like I'm not sweating all the time like I used to. And like, I'm not uncomfortable anymore. And that was a huge part of it. And so now like this year, 2021, has been one of the best years of my life. Like I can truly say that. And I had surgery end of 2020. So like I've been experiencing all the fresh post-op things, but I also have gotten to travel so much and meet people and just really kind of step out of my comfort zone a little bit. And that's also helped me grow. And so I've been having a lot of fun. I mean, I will say there are times that I worry that it is impacting, my weight loss and things like that because, I'm not a huge drinker. I never really have been, but I love to smoke weed. And, with that comes the munchies. And so like, that's something that has been on my mind here lately, that I'm just afraid that maybe I am self-destructing in some ways, so it's hard. It's been difficult. I have had some guilt, but I'm having the best time. So it's hard to weigh out those options. And it's something I'm working on. I mean, I go to therapy every week and, this is definitely something that has been brought up for sure.
Okay. So I definitely we're going to revisit what you just said, but I want to hear from Nat about how partying has changed.
Yeah, so very similar to Jason and Katie. I personally, I feel like I want to party more because like Katie said, like I feel better about myself. Like I want to go do things, but I'm going to do things to make memories instead of like forgetting about things. And so for me, it's, obviously we know after surgery, you absorb things differently. The way that you drink is different. The way that you smoke weed is different. And so for me, it's like kind of nice because similar to April, I used to be the shots girl. Like I was like, let's do shots. I'll buy shots for people. Like I would do shots all night long. And now it's like, okay, I can do like one or two and I'm done. Like, like I'm gone, you know? So now it's kind of like less about the act of drinking or the act of smoking. And it's more of like, okay, I'm out, I'm having fun, I'm with my friends, like, let's go do something, let's go dancing, let's go, like, I want to make memories with my friends instead of just like forgetting about the night and like not remembering anything. But that being said, it's been hard for me because I also partake in weed and alcohol, and I used to love to get crossfaded. I used to love to let that feeling of, for those who don't know, it's when you smoke weed and you drink at the same time. And I used to love that feeling because it is kind of, it's a different feeling than doing one or the other. Now it's like I can't do that at all because I'm instantly sick. Like the feeling just instantly makes me sick. I was on a trip with friends back in early August, and we were all like hanging out, drinking, smoking, and I just got to a point and I was like, I have to go lay down. And I just like literally got up and like disappeared and like laid down because I was like, if I try to stay up, if I try to like keep going, I'm going to like fall on my face. Like I felt like the whole room was spinning. It was horrible. So I'm kind of having to like redefine partying for me, because my friends, they can all get crossfaded, they can all do that, but I can't. And so I'm having to kind of like redefine what partying looks like for me, which is hard because it's such a hard habit to break. I mean, that's like 10 years of getting crossfaded when I go out. Now I can't do that. So it's been interesting.
I'm kind of right there with you now. I had an experience a couple weeks ago. We had friends over, they came and stayed the night. And I went from, one or two Trulies to just like way too many Trulies. I mean, it was just, I just skyrocketed immediately. And I felt so horrible the next day. I couldn't engage in meaningful conversation really with my friends after I got to that level. I mean, I was just like, I wasted this entire weekend with my friends because I went from 0 to 100 almost instantly. And I had no real meaningful interactions with them. Yeah. I mean, it was just like, what am I doing? This is stupid. Like, I don't actually get to do the thing that I wanted to do, which was connect with my friends in meaningful ways. Mm-hmm. And really after that, I just thought, okay, this is not good, right? Because I'm the one that's doing it to myself. It isn't anybody else doing it to me. It's me just going over the top and missing the whole point of doing it. So I'm very much in alignment with you now. It's like, okay, I need to really rethink this, because I also know that once I have a couple, then I'm like, oh, it's on.
Yeah.
That means that that means no, I'm off.
Yeah.
And that is not why I'm doing this. And yeah, right. And all of a sudden now everything hits differently. And it's like, oh.
Yeah, I used to be able to take huge bong rips, like humongous. And I took a very large one a couple weeks ago. And I was like, I'm not okay. Like, I was like, that was like,
I know that feeling, and I hate
instant
the paranoia sets in.
Yes, and we were watching a movie, and we have this joke, and my girls and I, we get together every week or so to watch it. Like, we have dinner and we watch a show or a movie or something, and there's usually weed and alcohol. And so I've been trying to be good and like just pick one or the other. And someone broke out the bong, and I like took a huge rip on it, and I was like, I'm not okay. I'm gonna go lay down in your room for like an hour and then I'll be right back. Like, it was bad. And so I'm having to relearn like how can I like consume weed in a safe way for myself, that's like not gonna just kick me right up and I'm not safe anymore.
I'm laughing because like I know exactly what you're experiencing, and like it is the worst. And like actually I experienced it not long ago, and I just like you take a really big hit and not like you just don't realize that how it's going to hit you. And if you haven't eaten or if you haven't, like it also will kick in quicker. And like I just know that feeling of being so paranoid and the room is spinning and just being like, okay, I'm going to throw up, like what is happening right now. It is scary. So I know exactly what you're saying.
Well, and it sucks too because it's like instant regret, right? I mean, you're like, oh my God, I didn't want to do that. So all of a sudden you're like, what the hell did I do to myself? And then you're like mad and ashamed and you got guilt on top of what you were already feeling about like, oh, I know I shouldn't be doing this, but oh, I need some relief. I mean, oh my God.
For me, it's constant, like justifying in my head, like telling myself like, it's fine. You just smoked too much. Everything is fine. You're going to be fine. Like calm down. Like that's me in my head, like over and over and over again until it fades a little bit and I'm fun again and not paranoid.
For me, it was the moment, it was the exhale when like the smoke just keeps coming and you're like, oh my God, what have I done? Like there's a TikTok and it's a sound and it's like, oh, I fucked up. And that was the only thing I was like slow-mo, like watching all of this.
So funny. I was
like, what did I do? And yeah, I mean, then it was like, okay, now I have to deal with my actions. I have to deal with what I just did. And I have to tell my friends like, hey, I took too much and now I have to go like be absent for an hour because I'm not okay. And it's like, that's not worth it. I don't want to do that. That's not why I'm doing it anymore. Personally, it's so I can be with my friends. So yeah, those moments like really suck.
Yeah, they do.
Would you guys have thought about that? Like, would we be having this conversation before weight loss surgery? Or would we have just gotten like over the top blitzed and then we would have just passed out and that would have been the end of it? Or is this conversation, you think, brought on by the fact that now we have more of our brains to think about these things?
I think it's a mix because I used to get very paranoid. Like, I think it's knowing your limits too, because like weed is just very different than alcohol. And, like if you don't smoke a whole lot, you don't really know how it's going to affect you. And you don't really know how much is too much until you've gotten to that point. And so I don't know, that's just how I see it. Like, cause I remember I went through a period where I did not ever want to smoke weed again because I had smoked too much and I had that paranoia and it was terrible. Like I did not have a good time. And once I kind of learned what my body can, handle and like how to do it in a way that's enjoyable, now I love it. So I think a lot of it just depends on your tolerance levels. But I do think your self-awareness plays a huge part. Like especially if you're not a big smoker or drinker for that matter, if you're not in a place, like if you're not surrounded by people you're comfortable with, or like if you're in an environment where you feel very like out of place or like not safe, then that's going to affect it a lot too.
Well, the self-awareness is a theme that keeps coming up. And Jason, you often talk about how your self-awareness is very different now after weight loss surgery.
Yeah, absolutely. There's lots of, like you had alluded to way early on in our journey here, was just the connecting and listening to your body and just knowing exactly what your body needs. And that's not something that I don't think any of us did before, but being able to really connect those dots, it comes with not just listening to your body, but also having the capacity in our brains to be able to do that, because all that fog is gone. We're clear, we think a lot more clear now post-op. So it's not just listening it's knowing exactly what to do and how to move to make those connections work for you moving forward, so that, you can make the changes that Katie's talking about making, and that Natalie's, that you all have talked about, that you have made or working on making to make your interactions better going forward.
Yeah. So this is a great segue into what I really want to get to. And Katie, if you don't want to talk about this and if you want to pass, I just want to say you have the right to pass.
Okay.
But you did say something and it got my little spidey senses going. And that was, oh my God, am I using this in a way that is harming me? So do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, we can talk about it. If you would have asked me, 3 months ago, I probably would have said no. But now I am, I was in a denial phase, I think.
Oh my God, I just gotta tell you, I got goosebumps because this, my friends, is you are seeing growth in action.
Yeah.
I mean, can we just like slow clap, virtual hug you?
Thank you.
Because, but this is, I just have to point out, and I have to say, this is why this community is so amazing. And this is why I'm so proud of all of us as friends, because we're willing to say, if you would have asked me this months ago, I wasn't ready to talk about it, but I have done some thinking, I've done some growth, and I realize now that if I don't talk about this, it's actually going to hold me back.
Yeah.
And you have
100%.
come to realize, oh my God, this is huge. And FYI world, this is what growth looks like. If you are going through this, if you're experiencing this, if you're having these conversations with yourself, you are on the growth track. You are moving in a direction that is changing you, and it feels gross and it doesn't feel right, but we're telling you this is the work that actually makes you into the person that you want to become.
Yeah, there's so many people that will view what Katie's going through and gone through as, well, I'm not really doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So am I failing? Am I a bad bariatric patient? Am I, I really feel like I'm, losing all my hope. I don't really know where to turn or how to get through it. And literally, we have watched Katie grow tremendously just from the first time we talked to her until now. So that's really something that you need, like you said, you've got to take stock in the fact that those changes, not only they may seem unsurmountable now, but you have to look at it in terms of it's one step at a time. Like nobody's going to be able to conquer all of this in one day. It's not something that you can do in a week. Like Katie said, it's taken 3 months for her to get to a point where she can actually speak about this and not feel closed off. That's huge.
Yeah. And I think I just, when you have thousands and thousands of eyes on you, like speaking from like Instagram and things like that, like I remember when my page first started growing, like I just wanted to like, I felt like I had to put on a show kind of, like I always wanted to be myself, but I also felt like, okay, like a million of these people are watching my journey. Like I have to make sure that like I am following the rules and doing what I'm supposed to do. Like I don't want to look like an idiot, And now I guess my mission is more like, it's just grown to the fact that like, I really just want to be real. And I want people to know that like, not everybody's journeys are perfect. And the reality is life happens. We all go through things in life that are totally going to affect us differently. And, some of us, like, especially me, like I'm still grieving. Like my mom died like right in the middle of my pre-op program. Like, and so I didn't, and I honestly, this is something that has come to light very recently after talking to my therapist just about everything. She asked me, she's like, do you feel like you really got to grieve? And, of course I had my moments of complete despair. I was a whole mess, emotionally. But as far as taking the time to do what I need to do to cope and grieve and get through that, like I don't feel like I really got to fully experience that, because like I was in the midst of like preparing for weight loss surgery, and I knew I wanted to do that, and I didn't want anything to stand in my way. And so I really kind of had to put my emotions on the back burner after the first couple of weeks, and just be like, okay, like I have a goal, I have a mission, like I have to stay focused. And so now that I'm kind of starting to feel back to normal and I'm eating normal foods, like now I feel like all of these emotions are starting to set in. And so it's been hard. And that's the thing, is like, it's not everybody is going to have a journey where it just comes easy to them. And, I think some people do experience that. Like, I think some people do, they're able to just like really focus. They're in a really good place in their life. But like, for me, that has not been the case. And so I've just really had to figure out how to navigate all of this, but also stay true to myself and just figure out life, And so I think it's important to share the ups and downs and the ins and outs, and just really be as relatable as possible, because, there are so many people out there who want to have surgery and who, have had surgery, but have also had a lot of obstacles come their way. And it's just not always easy.
And I think what we need to make crystal clear is that your journey is perfect. Nobody has an imperfect journey, right? Like our journey is what our journey is. And if we start comparing it to others, we're taking away from our own experience. And I don't think no one has a perfect, right, as you described it. Everybody's journey is filled with pitfalls and twisty turns. And it's just that it looks different for other people. But I think when we discount our own journey, we're actually discounting everybody's journey.
Yeah,
so,
that's fair.
Right? Like your journey is perfect. And your journey has been exactly what you needed it to be, because you struggle in areas that other people don't. So of course your journey is going to look different. Your struggles are different. Yeah. So just to acknowledge the fact that you went through major loss right before your surgery. And on top of grieving that loss, we all are grieving the loss of food as a coping mechanism.
For sure.
And we discount that grief. We discount that relationship that abruptly ends on top of other things that are abruptly ending in our life. So the fact that you're trying to figure all of this grief out and move through it is monumental. And the fact that you even have the ability and the capability to step back and go, okay, wait a minute. Am I using this to cope?
Yeah.
That's huge.
And honestly, like, that kind of leads me into why I have felt guilty from partying, because, I didn't really realize how addicted to food I was. Like, I was in denial about that 100%. I'm like, I don't really have a food addiction. I just like to eat and, whatever. I just have a sweet tooth. Like, I was in hardcore denial about it. And I remember being in denial because I remember I would talk to Steph and she'd be like, oh, I'm 100%. I have a food addiction. Like, I'm a binge eater. And I'm like, no, I don't really feel like that's me. And it's just, I laugh about it now because I'm like, look at you. Like, I literally admitted this and I'm going to admit it here. And this was, so I have had so much shame from this thought in my head. And I knew I had to say it out loud in order to get past it. But like, I have felt so shameful about this. But one of the reasons that I have enjoyed smoking weed lately is because I can eat more. And because I can enjoy food. And I miss that. And it is very hard to like come to terms with that, because I had surgery so that I wouldn't eat, so that I wouldn't overeat. And like, the more I'm realizing it, the more I'm like, I love smoking weed because food tastes so good when I'm high. And granted, I still can't eat as much as I used to, but like, that lack of like realization kind of goes away, and you're more relaxed. And so I feel like it's easier for you to kind of consume. And like, it's been very eye-opening to me. And I've been afraid to admit it because I don't want to stop. Like, I love it so much and it's become such a comfort for me. But two, I see what it's doing to my very own, and it's a problem. And I admitted it to my therapist and she was like, I need you to know how proud I am of you for acknowledging that, because that's not something that people admit easily. Like, she's like, I see that you're struggling. And like, just hearing that from her was so reassuring to me that it's like, okay, like, I need to work through this. Like, obviously me getting to a point where I'm just going to say like, no, like, I'm not going to smoke weed anymore. Like, that's going to be very hard for me to get to, because like, this has been a coping mechanism for me. And like, I have deeper rooted issues that need to be addressed. And I need to figure out like why I have issues with food. And like, I'm happy now that I've been able to acknowledge it and address it, because like, I feel trapped. I feel like this has become kind of like a, what's the word? Like, it's a way for me to cope. And like, I don't know, I just want to be able to let go of it. I want to be able to move on from that. And like, I want to still be able to smoke weed, but not because I want to eat, like, I want to be able to enjoy it in small amounts. And so I'm going through a lot right now, like mentally and emotionally with, my relationship with food and drugs. And it's been very, very eye-opening, especially the last month. Like this has all kind of come to light within the last like 30 days. So yeah.
I want to say that I relate to you 100%. I definitely, when I first started using weed, I was very young, and it was fun, right? And then you get into like developing your food addiction even more. Before surgery, I was definitely using weeds as an excuse to eat as much as I wanted. And something I also go to therapy every week. And something that was something that we talked about before surgery, because I was like, I realized that this is an issue that I need to address. So I didn't use weed during my pre-op process, like at all. And then I was having a hard time sleeping. And I remember talking to you, Katie, and our little friend group, and being like, I need something to sleep. Like I'm going crazy. You can't take, I guess I could have taken like Tylenol PM, but I was like, it makes me feel bad. Like I just don't want it.
Yeah.
And I started using like the gummies, to help me fall asleep. And I was like, okay, this is like scary territory for me, because I know what my threshold is. I know I'm a food addict. Is this gonna totally derail me? And then, the more that I talked to my therapist about it, we made a game plan. I literally, unless I'm like, my guard is down, which happens, but if I'm like at home and I am like, I really want to smoke, I make sure that I am already cooking my dinner or cooking a pre-planned meal or snack as I am smoking weed, because that way, once those munchies hit, because they hit a lot sooner, I have something that is healthy and pre-planned for me and will make me full. Because generally when I smoke, I reach for popcorn, I reach for protein
Snacky
chips,
foods.
like I reach for the snack foods. But if I make sure like I have, the slider foods, like if I make sure though that I have my dinner, like some steak and vegetables, I get full
plan.
because I feel it. Like I can physically feel it instead of like
you
the slider
literally
food.
it's so weird how like you get so full so fast off of like a hunk of meat, like, or protein versus like a bag of chips. It is wild to me. And it's like, I'm pretty sure it's probably like that for people who have not had bariatric surgery, but I had never experienced that because like I never really got full. Like I did, but like I don't know. It's just so different. It is so different. I feel like everything is magnified now.
Well, that was my go-to pre-op. Like when I was younger, when I was in high school and like coming out of high school and stuff, that was my go-to. I wouldn't go anywhere without a family-sized bag of Doritos and a 2-liter of Mountain Dew for myself. And that was literally, if I showed up to somebody's house, that's what I had in my hand. And if I didn't, people looked at me weird, because that's literally what I was known for having, was those two things everywhere I went. And that it was mine. You knew not to put your hand in it because you'd draw back a nub. Like, you don't play games with my food like that. But that literally was what I was about to ask you guys about, the munchie side of things. Was I figured it was all slider food type stuff, and that does make it very hard because, your wherewithal, your guard is down. You're not really kind of listening to your body near as much as you should be. So it's easier to plow through 2 or 3 bags of popcorn and chips and whatever else and not really know. And then the next thing you know, it's all bad. So. But I definitely see where you're coming from with that, because I used to put the bags away without fail.
Yeah.
Well, Katie, I'm just so blown away at the discovery that you have made. And I think what is so powerful about that, which we try to talk about at East to West, but it's so hard to articulate unless you like hear it in real time, which you just so perfectly did for us. but we are so afraid to admit that one thing, right? Or we're so afraid to actually figure out what it is because we think it's going to kill us, or we think it's going to turn us into a monster. We think it's going to like open this Pandora's box of all these horrible things. So we do everything we possibly can do to avoid discovering that thing or admitting that one thing. But you are living proof that it doesn't actually harm you.
Mm-mm. It doesn't. It's actually very healing, and it's, of course it's scary. You don't want to think you have a problem. You don't want to think that like, oh, like I'm not like that, but there's a reason we all got to this point. There's a reason, that we chose to have weight loss surgery to help us on this journey because we struggled doing it on our own. And, there should be absolutely no shame in that whatsoever. And, I know we all go through hearing comments from people like, oh, you took the easy way out, but like realistically, absolutely not. I had a surgical procedure to alter my life completely, irreversible. And there's nothing easy about that. Nothing at all. It's totally a tool. And, there's proof that like, if you do not make the decisions that you need to make in order to be successful, you will regain. Just because your stomach is this big doesn't mean that it's not going to grow back out. If, like you have to be aware, and it's not, there's nothing easy about it.
I had this realization the other day, and I really believe it 100%. Weight loss surgery, right? We think that it's going to fix what's going on up here. It absolutely does not, right? But what weight loss surgery did for me is it took away my last excuse. It really was like, guess what, bitch? There ain't nothing else now that you could possibly do except the head work, except finally confront what's been actually going on this entire time. Because I'm out of there's nothing now. I'm out. I'm absolutely out. And it is terrifying. And it is so frustrating when you get to this point in your recovery, when you realize this and you're going, you have got to be kidding me. I thought I did the one thing. But the gift of weight loss surgery is that it is your last excuse. And if you truly want to get to the bottom of this, if you truly want to find not only your happy, healthy weight, but if you truly want to find yourself, you will do this. And you will have these conversations, and you will talk about these things publicly. You will admit what you are most fearful to admit publicly. And that doesn't mean in this type of forum on a podcast. It means you admit it publicly to yourself.
Absolutely.
And if we can do that.
And it was good to hear Katie say, like, it's major to hear Katie say something like how much weed means to her, and doing that, like she's afraid to let go and lose that component. But you also heard her come back around to the realization that it's more than likely going to be something that happens, and she's okay with that if it means she's better. So we choose ourselves when it comes time to have the surgery, and then we lose ourselves and down whatever path, whether it be regain, whether it be partying, whether it be whatever, drinking, drugs, whatever. But we have to choose ourselves again in that time. And she went through a time period where she wasn't, ready to do that. But now that, Katie, you did the work and realized that this is something that another choice you're going to have to make, you're now willing to stand up and say, I will take that and I will choose myself if that's what I have to do to get better. And that's amazing in the fact that not only yourself, but you're showing so many other people in our community that it's okay that you may have lost sight of choosing yourself again, but you found it again. So that's the biggest thing, is you may lose sight of that for a little while, and that's okay. We all do that. We all hit a time where we find something that's better than the alternative, which is getting better. And it's okay to sit in that for a little while. Sometimes you got to marinate in it for a minute to realize you really don't like the way that it feels. So the only and the wisest decision to make is the one you've already made, which is choosing yourself to get, away from whatever it is that's holding you back. And it's such a powerful, amazing message. And I can't thank you enough for sharing that with us today. That's so powerful.
Yeah. And it's interesting because Natalie, you said that you understand what I'm feeling. And I think especially because you smoked frequently before surgery. I didn't. And that's the thing is like, I didn't really like, I would get high every now and then, but it wasn't something that I really understood, like, okay, like people smoke so they can eat. Like that's kind of like, or like people like plan, like, okay, let's smoke weed and then let's go eat. Like that's just something that people do who smoke frequently. That's just something that they do. And I never really knew that. Like I never really understood what that was like because I didn't really smoke very often, before I had surgery. And so now experiencing that and realizing like, oh, like this is a big part of, being high. Like I have to figure out how to cope with that. Like I really, really enjoy being high, but like Natalie, hearing that like you were able to come up with a plan with your, doctor or therapist in order to make it fit into your life without harming you, like that gives me hope because I, it's God, I just feel like I'm having so many realizations like here recently, even in this conversation, but like,
Yeah.
I just, being high, like, I think it's, for me, I think it's an escape in the fact that like all of my inhibitions are gone and I just feel like I can finally just like be myself. And I think for so long in my life, like all growing up, like I was so insecure and so afraid of what people think about me. Like I grew up so insecure and like now that I'm just like I'm happy in who I am, I feel like when I'm high, I can just truly be who I want to be. I just vibe. And I think that's why I like it so much. And like I'm getting emotional because like I for once in my life am not I don't just don't care what people think about me anymore. Like of course there's a line, of course there's a line if people are, talking so much hate online, like that's gonna hurt. But like just knowing I can go somewhere and just show up and be exactly who I want to be and not have to just have my arms crossed feeling like, I'm covering up my stomach or like watching like what I'm eating or, how I look to other people. Like I don't have to worry about that anymore. And I think just like being high helps me realize that. And so I think that's why I like it so much because like I just feel free. And so I want to be able to find a way to do that without being high, to be able to experience that like just on my own. But I think it's going to take a lot of work. Like I don't think it's going to come easily. So it's wild. Like the transition in my mind like has literally just thrown a whole curve. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah,
So
go ahead. I relate to that a lot. I think it's funny because I've already experienced that at a young age of like, okay, this can make me feel really good, makes me lower my inhibitions, lower my negative self-talk. Because I was so big, it was like my tool to be like, okay, now I can just like my weight doesn't even matter because everyone else is on the same like wavelength. But now it's interesting because I feel like weed has shifted. It's not like a party thing anymore. It's actually medicinal for me. I have anxiety. I struggle with anxiety. If you've been following me for a while, you know that. And I was looking for another job for a while. And I was trying to stay abstinent from weed because unfortunately, we're still in a place where drug tests are real and could hinder me from getting a new job. And my anxiety, you guys, was like normally it's like baseline. I have anxiety, but it's manageable. I can deal with it. It was like over my head, like panic, waking up every morning with panic attacks. Like it was like unmanageable. My medications were making me nauseous. It's like, okay, so now I'm in this cycle of like using pharmaceuticals, which I hate. And that was a realization for me, speaking of realizing things, that, okay, this isn't just fun for me. It's actually something that I need to help me sleep and to help me not have this, not wake up with panic attacks. Like literally the moment I opened my eyes, just immediate panic attack. And I think that's where my mind has shifted to, okay, for me, alcohol can be the fun thing, but marijuana is not the fun thing anymore. It's every day I need this to function. And that was a hard realization for me, because a lot of my friends are still in the I use it for fun stage. So now I have to kind of say no to that. And that's really hard socially, and puts me back in that position of being kind of the odd man out, even though I've lost over 100 pounds. So it's been really hard for me too, to like differentiate and redefine that for myself as well.
For sure. I'm getting very emotional right now. Not like I did not anticipate this whatsoever, but like hearing you kind of say that, this is something I really didn't know that I felt comfortable sharing, but I'm going to share it because I feel like it's important to share. I feel like I love my husband. We have an amazing marriage, and he's my best friend. We tell each other everything. And something that like I've realized about myself is that like I don't really enjoy intimacy. It's been this way my entire life. I've never enjoyed it. And it's not because of him at all. It's been that way. As far as I can remember, like I never really want to. And I'm realizing the reason I'm bringing this up is because the other night I got high and we were intimate and I loved it. And what's so weird to me is that I think, like, not weird, but it's just like a realization that I feel like I finally was able to just like kind of like let go of everything that's running through my mind all the time. And like, I am a victim of sexual assault, and that is something that has happened to me in my past. And I think subconsciously I've carried that with me for a really long time. And so I think being able to just like let go of that and just like, because when you are intimate with somebody, like in order for you to enjoy it, you have to be completely relaxed and very open to trusting that other person. And so I think I've just had like these issues just like lodged in the back of my mind that like have been keeping me from really being able to just enjoy it and just, like feel what I'm supposed to feel. And so like the other night, I was high and like we were fooling around or whatever, and I enjoyed it. Like I had a great time. And like this is getting really personal, but I'm just saying that like it has become almost medicinal for me in a way too. Like it's not just about the food, that's part of it, but there are other things that are present in my life that make me want to be able to continue it just in a healthy way.
Well, and Katie, I was going to say the only way that you learn these things is by trying them, right? So we can't feel guilty. We can't feel shame over the things that actually help us become who we want to become and realize these things about ourselves. There's nothing wrong. That's how we discover these things. If you would have never gone down this path, you might not have ever understood just how deeply tied and connected you were to food. That might have been, you might have missed that for your entire life. And can you imagine going through your life always wondering, okay, what is it? What is the thing that is really tripping me up here? You would have never known that if you had not gone down this path. That's why I keep saying your journey is perfect.
Yeah.
It really truly
you're
is.
Right. You're right. And it helps to have somebody say that, because like I've been so hard on myself like over the last couple of months, because I feel like I could be doing better. I should be losing more weight. Like, I don't have these like, I don't know, updates to post on Instagram like everybody else does. I feel like I've just stalled. But the reality is I have been doing a lot of work just on the inside.
Well, and that's the part about it that a lot of people, it's the same thing with illnesses people can't see. It's hard for people to know what the hell you're working on or how you feel or what's going on with you, because it's not something you can outwardly post. But much like breaking the stigma on weight loss surgery, we've got to break the stigma on mental health as well, because there's lots of states across our country that still don't believe that shit's real. Like, they don't get the funding they need. You can't get the resources people need. But you stepping out and actually bringing up, as personal as it was, about your intimacy issues, you have to realize that you are absolutely not alone. There are hundreds of millions of women that have gone through, similar situations to you that feel the same exact way. And they may think, just like, sadly, most people think, well, I'm broken. There's something wrong with me because I can't enjoy things like the rest of the people do. Well, the sad part about it is, because, a lot of guys suck, is these things happen to women. Like, horrible things happen. Like, you have no idea how hard it is for me to be a male in a very highly dominated female area like our weight loss community, feeling the way I feel, knowing the things that happen to it. Like, it's hard because I hate the fact that this has to happen to anyone. So, a lot of people are very guarded towards me simply just because I am a male in a very highly dominated, female area. But that was amazing that you shared that, because there are so many people that are going to connect with that and understand that not only are they not alone, but there may be something they can look into that can fix, or at least help them deal with and adjust moving forward, so that, they can enjoy those types of things in their life, because that's something that, a lot of people don't get to enjoy, but really want to. They just don't know how to fix it. They don't even know that there is a way to fix it. So you sharing that, we appreciate you actually sharing that, because that's going to let a lot of people in on a secret that they probably had no clue or knew about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and we just don't realize how connected all of these things are until we're brave enough to really start exploring the connections.
So true.
And right, because we know that this is going to suck. This is what we've actually been avoiding our whole lives, and now we're to the point where it's like, well, I have to shit or get off the pot. I had weight loss surgery. I had weight loss surgery to get to this point. What's so brutal about weight loss surgery is that you don't realize this is what the work is until you're there. And then you're going,
So
no, I didn't
That's
sign
not
up
what
for
I signed
this.
up for.
No, I did not. This is not. And then you're like, motherfucker, this is exactly what it is.
Lose a couple pounds. I thought this was going to be good. Like, my portion sizes were going to go down. I was getting like a half a burger, lose 20 pounds, and I was going to be good. And now you got me thinking about shit, and my mind's all messed up. Like,
and it's so true, because we are at our core. Right? Like, we are this little diamond that's just radiating to get out. And on top of that are all of these different layers of our lives, right? We are sisters and brothers. We are mothers. We are aunts. We are friends. We are wives. We are granddaughters. All of those layers we have to work through to get to here. And especially in a marriage or in any type of intimate relationship, you so accurately said that, Katie. You have to be willing to expose your very pristine diamond to somebody else. And it's like, why am I, even though you're married to that person, why do I trust you? Because this is me. And that is intimacy at its core. And besides just that, there's the weight and what I look, and oh my God, excess skin, and there's the physical stuff. And I mean, oh my God, I mean,
it's a lot.
Can we just take a moment to acknowledge the weight of this work? And I think when we lose some of the physical weight, the other weight is more keenly felt. And all I can say is that I'm 2 years out. I am also not where I thought I would be, nor where I hope to be. And I probably won't ever be to that place. I think I'm going to die still seeking a little bit, and that's okay. But what I can tell you from my 2-year perspective is that the more time that I spend focusing on this work, the lighter I feel. Right. So while it feels like it's and it is very heavy right now, you just keep working away at that, and it does get lighter. And what I was going to say to you earlier, Katie, because you're like, well, I just don't know how to be myself without this. I in my personal experience, what has helped me transition to where I can be more of myself all the time without anything else helping it is I have to practice being authentically myself all the time. And it takes me having these brave conversations publicly, or it takes me acknowledging these things. It takes me really just practicing being who you are more often than not without the help of anything else. Because the more you practice that, the more you're going to realize, oh, I can be this way without this all the time. And then you will get to the point and it's like, oh, I actually don't need this at all. This is just truly something fun. And I don't need to worry about it necessarily becoming the thing that I cope with, because it's a bonus. It's, oh, okay, I'm going to feel different for a little bit. Cool. But I don't actually need it. And the way that we get there is practice.
Yeah, you're so right. And I think part of it is like figuring out who I want to be, like, I think like that's been a big part of it for me is like, I'm figuring out what my style is. I'm figuring out like who I truly am underneath all of this excess weight that I feel like has held me back for so long. And, it's funny because like when I was in high school, like senior year of high school.
Here. Get out of here. If you're watching this, April just held up Atomic Habits. She can't help it.
Let it go. She can't let it go. Honestly though, I do need to reread that. Like I read it. Book. And now after going through like all of this growth that I have, like I know I need to reread it.
And the only reason I say this, and I don't mean to interrupt your story, Katie, this book helps us work through who we want to be. Yeah. Because at our core, if we are not clear with our identity, and if we are not aligning everything in our lives to our identity, we're always going to feel like we're floating out here in the ether. Mm-hmm. And the work that you're doing now is this very deep, intentional identity work. And we have to start there. We just do. Because once you figure that out, then you start everything that you do. And this now becomes, okay, does this align to my identity or does it not? And if it doesn't, bye. Mm-hmm. It constantly gives you, and it doesn't mean that this is set in stone forever. It means that, okay, this is who I want to be right now. And as I grow as a person, this maybe is going to shift. It's going to look a little different, but that's what we're supposed to do as humans. But if we're not constantly using this as our checkpoint, we got nothing. We're going to say yes to everything, or we're going to say no to everything because we just don't know what we want.
Yeah, I bought this book. It was literally $6.99 on Amazon. So 10 out of 10 recommend for anybody needing to do some like reflection work. But it's called Burn After Reading. And like each page has a topic for you to write on that makes you feel uncomfortable, like releases your like darkest secrets. And it's for your eyes only. And you go through the entire thing and fill it out and then you burn it. And I think I haven't started it yet, but I knew it was something I wanted to do. And so I got it and I'm really excited to start it. I think I'm gonna start it today.
Oh, we will definitely link that in the show notes.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah, it's really cool. They have like different colors and stuff too, but I just got the pink one, but it has a box of matches on the front. It says burn it. Cute. It's so cute. Yeah. But yeah, I'm actually really excited because like I do this not every year, but like something I've just started to do recently is every like New Year's Eve, I like to have a bonfire and like write down things and burn it and just like release it before the new year. And so I think my goal is going to be to finish this book and then burn that in New Year's, I think.
Yeah. Dang, girl. Well, this is, I say this often, but it's just true. Every single time we have conversations, it's like it's like ground, it's like tectonic plates have moved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But these are the conversations that allow new life to grow.
It's so true. Right? And like this episode totally turned into something that I didn't know it was going to. Like this is supposed to be about partying after weight loss surgery and talking about all the things. And like in that, I have found myself a lot, and like I've been able to uncover some like deep rooted issues that I didn't even realize I had. So it's been very powerful.
Well, it just shows, what can happen if you're open to change.
Yeah.
And if you're open and receptive to things that, listening to your body, listening to your mind, listening to, outside sources, you have to make yourself available for that, for those things to happen. And you let us know now that you're available to do that. And I think that's a lot of the reason why you turned this episode into more growth, which is something you've already been on a mission to do. So that just shows once you connect to that in your mind, if that's what you want to start doing, you can turn anything into a healing or fact-finding mission to compile the information you need to heal. And so once again, bravo to you for being able to do that.
Yeah. Pat on the back.
That's right. Exactly.
Well, this community is desperate for these safe places, and our community is desperate for this learning, and our community needs to know that this is what growth looks like and sounds like and feels like. And that if you're experiencing this, good job. You're doing the work of weight loss surgery. This is the work of weight loss surgery. Nobody told us. And we feel a little bit shafted because of that. But guess what?
Nobody told us.
Nobody told us. But because we are very intelligent human beings, we are on a mission to support our community in a way that it has not been supported before. We are creating what we need. And by doing so, we are not only helping ourselves, but we're helping others. We're lifting up our community, one simple yet meaningful conversation at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Katie, we cannot thank you enough for your bravery and your honesty and your willingness to have these very intimate conversations with us.
I thank you guys for having me. It's for sure scary, like just talking openly about it, but like if I can help even just one person, it's worth it, So that's really ultimately, and it helps me kind of talk through it too. So I think it's rewarding on all aspects, truthfully.
It is. It absolutely is. If you guys don't follow Katie, you absolutely should do so. She's on Instagram at katie.vsg. Her DMs are always open, as well as all of us. You can message East to West directly, and one of the three of us are the very friendly faces that are responding to you. And you can also reach out to us personally. We all have kind of personal Instagram pages, and we'll make sure that we link them in the show notes. I want to switch gears a little bit. We have some housekeeping that we would like to do. Nat's going to talk about Shout Out Sunday. I'm going to talk about something big that is coming for our community, and Jason's going to tell you what you can do to support our podcast and help East to West grow. So Nat, you want to start?
Yes. So every Sunday we shout out one of our many members of East to West. It's very easy. Literally, all you have to do is go to our website, east2westwls.com. It's also in our bio. You'll fill out this Sunday shout out submission form. It's just asking about your journey, giving us the highs, the lows, the in-betweens, why you had the surgery. And also my favorite part is asking about the bariatric snacks. I feel like I learn something every time. But yeah, it's just a way for us to highlight you guys in the community, highlight and say thank you to you for supporting us. And it's completely free. You do not have to be a patron. You do not have to pay us or donate anything. It's literally just a form that you fill out, send us a picture, and first come, first serve. I upload it and post it on our grid. I also give you guys a little bit of a shout out on our stories. As you guys know, it is my favorite day of the week. So please go over to our website again. It's east2westwls.com. Fill out that form and we get to brag about you guys.
It's pretty rad. I think it is also my favorite day. It's a close competition between Sunday and Wednesday, because Wednesday are when these amazing podcast episodes drop. So I gotta love that.
It's a tight race.
Right, it's a tight race. Yep. We have been working on something monumental behind the scenes here at East to West, and we are kind of amazed that we get to say that something is coming on November 4th. I'm like, I'm a little bit terrified when I say it, because everybody on the screen right now knows that we have poured our blood, sweat, and tears into this. But we are reimagining how the bariatric community is supported. And we are so excited to share that with you. So if you would like to be in the know, kind of the first one to get access to what's coming, join our subscriber list. Head to www.east2westwls.com and you can get signed up for our email list. And we will be communicating that to all of our subscribers really starting now. In fact, you might have already gotten an email or two teasing what's coming. And we're so very excited because it's involving a lot of people in our community. Maybe a little spoiler, somebody on the screen might be involved with it. I'm not sure, stuff like that. So if you'd like to know more, join our mailing list. Jason, my friend, you want to take us out?
Yes, ma'am. Katie, thank you again for joining us today. All your insights are invaluable. Your message to the community is amazing. And we thank you for all the hard work that you're putting in on yourself, which allows you to come here and speak so eloquently about your journey to us. We appreciate you. Just want to thank everybody for joining us, for supporting us, for liking, sharing, subscribing, spreading the word about East to West, because you're helping us help all the people out there, including yourselves, which also helps us in return. Do not forget that you can go and leave us ratings on your favorite podcast players. You can leave us messages. You can leave us voice messages that we can include into future podcast episodes, which is awesome. You can do that on Anchor. And you can also go to YouTube and rate us, review us on there as well. You can just spread the love that way just as equally as you do the word. So we appreciate everybody for all you've done so far. And just remember, at the end of the day, you've got this, we've got you, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks, friends.